Got a bit to talk about tonight. I got basically two kind of subjects to go on. The first one is a follow-up. I did a short yesterday on the shooting of this woman. Her name's Renee Good in Minneapolis by an ICE agent, shooting and killing. Um, at the time, I'm like, let this play out in court. We got lots of questions that need to be answered, that sort of thing. Um, I've looked at this, and there is the online back and forth on this is, unfortunately, I think a good bit of it's tainted by Trump derangement syndrome. Um, Sadly, you're going to get people on both sides of this issue. It's a tough call to make. Um, it's not cut and dried that this was murder by the ICE agent. I think some of the rhetoric coming from the White House, especially, and Department of Homeland Security, that this woman was a domestic terrorist, that's way overblown. Um, was she a left-wing activist? Yeah. What came out shortly was that she was a legal observer of ICE. It's like, that's okay. That's not exactly a thing. Um, they have legal observers at polling places on election day and that sort of stuff, but this isn't. It's not a thing. She's an activist. She's playing stupid games, and there's plenty of blame here to go around. So let's take a look at these videos, see what you think.
No! No! Shame! Shame! Oh my fucking god! What the fuck? What the fuck? You just fucking... What the fuck did you do?
Now, I apologize for the vulgarities. This video was one that was apparently taken by the woman, Renee Good's wife. Why, if you're she apparently had just dropped her 6-year-old kid off at school, which is tragic that this kid doesn't have his mother anymore. But so, this is not just, oh, he's driving home, got stuck, or she wanted to block ICE. Her wife gets out and is on the street filming all of this. That's activism. That's getting involved. They're impeding ICE agents is what they're doing. She's blocking half the street. But people look at that and say, oh, he could have gotten out of the way. And I don't know. That doesn't tell us. That view is probably not the best view. This one here is better. This is a clip that was taken from down the block. The reason why it's so blurry is that this is like a small part of the overall video. The real video is huge, but I want you to watch this closely because this is where you see that it's not, she didn't miss him. He got hit. Did he get hurt? They were saying that he was hospitalized over this. I'm not so sure about that. I haven't seen like real confirmation of that because, the Trump spouting off about stuff and elaborating and making things bigger than they really are has that little virus has wended its way into a whole bunch of other people in the White House, and so I don't think I've not seen any real reporting that he was hospitalized after this, but he was struck. So take a look at this. That's pretty clear, him getting struck. I'm not sure what else to tell you on that one. Was he in, mortal danger? Was he going to get killed? That's not the standard for self-defense. You have to be it has to be reasonable, but you have to be in imminent harm of serious injury or death. And I'm sorry, somebody coming at you with a 2-ton SUV. This is apparently a Honda Pilot. That can get you killed. So this is a video. This is a video from the first video that we saw. It's from the front, but it's zoomed in on that front tire. And the point they're trying to make on this front tire is that the tire spins, and when she kind of guns it, it's technically pointed straight at the cop at that point. And it's not clear exactly what happened, but this is slow-mo, so she's gunning it. I want you to take a close look at maybe. You can't really tell. I can't tell. So the wheel starts spinning, and he's right in front of her, and the wheel is pointed straight at him. Now, he can't, in fairness, he can't tell which way the wheel's angled from where he's standing. But this whole idea, he shot into the side, he did not shoot into the side. So there's the bullet hole in the front windshield. There's a second one. I believe I've circled it on the rearview mirror. The third one was as she's passing him, he shot again. I have no idea. I don't think anyone knows which one's the one that killed her. But, I want to give credit to Costas Moros on this. He is with the Second Amendment Foundation. I follow him on Twitter. He makes a lot of good sense on this. She's got a 6-year-old kid. She had a 6-year-old kid. You don't do this sort of stuff. You owe it to your children. You do not go out there and do this. Is this protesting stuff's for single. You owe a duty to your child, and she did not play stupid games. You don't. This is not the way to get involved. If you oppose what ICE is doing, you can do peaceful protests. This sort of stuff, we're going to block them with our cars and stuff. Not smart. Not smart. And in fairness, this ICE agent, it's the same guy's name's Jonathan Ross, I believe. I'll verify that in a second. He was the one who shot and killed her. He was dragged by trying to make an arrest on someone here illegally. He got his arm caught in the driver's arm, and it was Jonathan Ross, and was dragged more than 100 yards as the suspect weaved back and forth in an attempt to shake him loose from the car. Ross was hospitalized, significant injuries, 33 stitches. He's got that experience. Probably makes him more wary and more aware of what's going on in those sorts of situations. Another thing that I'd seen some complaints about online or some criticisms was that allegedly, and I don't know this to be true, it could be true for all I know, is that when Trump came into office the second time, he cut down the training time for ICE agents to 47 days because he's the 47th president. I'm a little bit skeptical. That sounds, a little too on point to be really accurate for, all things considered with, the Trump derangement syndrome going around. This guy has plenty of experience. 10 years. He's on their special response team. He is not. He's not a rookie. He's not someone with no experience. He's got a lot of experience. I know there are cases of ICE agents, excessive force, all that sort of stuff. The problem is, I think some of this is coming because it's being encouraged by the other side, by the people who don't believe in borders, or at least, they didn't want to enforce them while Biden was in office. But they're also, now that, the people spoke, they elected Donald Trump for a second time. Why? Because he promised to take care of the border and get the illegal aliens out of here who weren't supposed to be here. I'd prefer it if you focused on the ones who are criminal and the ones who are dangerous, terror supporting types, radical Islamists, whether or not they've actually committed any crimes yet. I'd prefer you focus on those. I'm not in charge. There's plenty of his voters and supporters who, get everybody. I am not in that camp. I think, we should try and get rid of as many of them as possible, but I think we should focus on the worst first and try to. We have laws for a reason. The people pass these laws. That's why they're on the books. And this whole idea that, we're not going, you shouldn't, these are our neighbors. They're not supposed to be your neighbors. Democrats dig in on anti-ICE rhetoric as protests rage against Nicole Good's killing. This is out of the New York Post. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry didn't back down from his fiery Wednesday message to ICE, get the F out. They're there to enforce laws. If you don't want this law enforced, you need to convince your fellow citizens and then change the law. But this whole idea of, we're going to make this hostile environment and then, it's okay, and then blame you for enforcing the law, it may sound good to them, but it's kind of insane. This is a column by Carol Markowitz. I believe I'm pronouncing her name right. I could be wrong. She's a New York Post columnist. She says, last month when federal agents arrived in Minneapolis to investigate allegations that local Somali immigrants had scammed the federal government out of billions of dollars, Fry repeatedly railed against the Trump administration's probe. We've got to stand up for the city's Somali residents, he proclaimed. Right now they're under attack. You're damn right I'll stick up for them. Since the shooting, Frey has done nothing but raise the temperature in his teetering city. Get the F out of Minneapolis, he demanded vice agents within hours of Good's death. We do not want you here. Well, he certainly doesn't, but there are others, I guarantee you, who do. Democrats are trying to have their immigration cake and eat it too. They don't seem to want to enforce any immigration laws at all or maintain any control of the border, but they're well aware that running on such ideas is electoral poison. So instead, they whip up enraged outbursts to make our existing laws toothless. They can't keep doing this. They have to be honest with their inflamed followers and tell them that a country must have the ability to decide who enters and who doesn't. And we have to have the ability to remove people who shouldn't be here. Markowitz continues, if they can't do that, they should be honest with the rest of us and run on a platform of opening our borders to all comers. But the party seems to have few grown-ups willing to take the political risk of telling their violent, incensed base to calm down. Until they find a way to turn the temperature down, we're all at risk from the violence the Democrats stoke. And make no mistake, they are stoking violence. They are. They are trying to get people as angry and as mad as possible that the laws are being enforced. That's what it is. I mean, they don't make, when they rail against ICE, they make no distinction between when ICE picks up a rapist or a murderer or a child molester who shouldn't be in the country, and when they pick up someone's, grandma who's been here illegally 20 years, but is not supposed to be here. They make no distinction between those two, which benefits Trump and his side, benefits the right. I mean, great. Yeah. You don't want to, you want to belittle and ignore the so-called angel moms whose children or parents or brothers and sisters who've been killed by illegal aliens who shouldn't be here in the first place. And I've heard all that, stuff about, illegal aliens commit crimes at a lower rate than Americans do. Well, yeah, but the rate should be zero because they shouldn't be here to commit them in the first place. I mean, let's not play that stupid game. Minneapolis schools, not impressed. Not impressed. They canceled classes Thursday and Friday in response to the good killing. But this NBC News report, check out. Minneapolis schools canceled classes after ICE raid at high school the same day Renee Nicole Good was killed. There was an ICE raid at a Minneapolis high school? Well, let's look at the text of the story, see if we've got an accurate headline here. Just a few hours after an ICE officer ignited nationwide outrage Wednesday by fatally shooting Renee Nicole Good on a snowing street in Minneapolis, U.S. Border Patrol agents clashed with teachers and protesters at a high school less than 3 miles from where the 37-year-old mom was killed. The Department of Homeland Security said it arrived at Roosevelt High School after a 5-mile car chase in pursuit of a suspect and were attacked by at least one teacher. They were chasing, someone was fleeing, an illegal immigrant apparently was fleeing. The illegal immigrant arrives at the high school. That's when they finally catch up to him. And as they're trying to arrest him, a teacher goes out and starts attacking them. This is, again, play stupid games. I mean, at some point, you're asking for it, really. So if you're chasing a guy for 5 miles and you finally catch up to him and he's headed to a high school for whatever reason, does that make it a raid at the high school? No, it doesn't. But for those of you who don't read past the headline, you wouldn't know that. The media isn't doing a good job either. And speaking of that, I've got a link to this in the show notes. I'd encourage you to go and watch it. The New York Times did an analysis of the videos. You've seen a couple of them. It's piss poor analysis. It just is. He wasn't hit, and we looked at this all. You want to believe the New York Times or your own lying eyes is what it comes down to. No. I think there's better analyses on online, and the New York Times one was, again, piss poor. Now, I'm all for educating our children. Maybe it's best that classes were canceled today and tomorrow in Minneapolis because teachers are out there protesting. I don't know that this person is a teacher, but I would hope she isn't. But for God's sake, please, people, proofread your signs. Justice for Renee Good. And then we get Tim Walz, now lame duck governor. He's decided not to run for re-election after he would get anyone who's not in current Minnesota government office running against him with the fraud, that daycare fraud and all the other fraud that's been going on under his nose. Who knows if he's been encouraging it too, because it gets him votes. Would wipe the floor with him at this point. But he is telling he's authorized the National Guard. Get them out in the streets. And then he goes and he says this.
I don't know what to tell you, and I don't quite know how to respond to the question other than my primary responsibility as governor is the protection of the people of Minnesota. And you can be assured, whether it's the State Patrol or whether it's the National Guard, their deployment is there to protect Minnesotans from whatever it is. If it's an act of nature, if it's a global pandemic, or in this case, if it is a rogue federal agent. I don't know at this time, and I want to be very careful.
He's activating the National Guard, and they're there to protect citizens, including against rogue federal agents. This is not good. I think the last time we may have seen something even, do you have to, maybe you go back to the civil rights movement in the 50s and 60s, 1950s and 60s. Maybe you go back to the Civil War. He is suggesting that he's going to activate National Guard troops, of which he was once one of them, and they're going to try and wrangle or capture or shoot or ICE agents. This is not a smart thing. There's a word for this, but I'm not going to use it. But people have been driving past his house and yelling it at him. You can look it up online. I have more respect from people who are truly do have learning disabilities and mental deficiencies. They don't need to be slandered as being being similar to Mr. Walls there. If you think the temperature is being turned down, or that we're trying to debate this issue with as little emotion as possible, looking at it, analytically, and looking at both sides of this, I give you. This was in New York City somewhere. I forget where it's at. Something that it was said when I found it. There'll be a link to it. Freedom News is out there. I don't know what the first two calls for chant are. It couldn't quite make it out. But the third one's pretty obvious. It's the Director of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, is the target. But please take a look and listen.
Crap their pants. Tired of being told to be peaceful to your oppressor. You should be. Save all life, kill and ice. 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 Save all life, kill and ice.
This goes on for this video. This is like the first 45 seconds of it. It goes on for about 4.5 minutes. It's not lowering the temperature. More people are going to get killed. And some of them are probably going to be ICE agents. And somebody made the comment online earlier today, well, what if Renee Good with her Honda Pilot had run over the ICE agent and killed him, what would the media narrative be? It would be that the ICE agent shouldn't have been there in the first place. That kind of refusal to allow our laws to be enforced, that's rule by mob and it's anarchy, and you can't do that. I think things are going to get worse before they get better. We'll see how this turns out. Thanks for watching this clip from the Hoystory On Air broadcast. I encourage you to follow me on Substack, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I want to thank you for your support, and please feel free to watch another video or 2 or 3.